I got trapped in another escape room. I really need to stop responding to those random text messages. And this time, my captor is the escape room enthusiast Wiz. As usual, the goal of this escape room was to make it to the end with my sanity still intact. It's never happened before, but maybe this time will be different. As the game begins and the time starts, my lone partner is a level 15 Makuhita. By inspecting my bag, I discover I have no earthly possessions, nary a potion to my name. The sign next to the Pokemon Center gives me a few basic but very helpful clarifications about the game. All Pokemon have Gen 5 level up movesets. I won't need to grind multiple levels, emphasis on multiple. Every item in the game is included for a reason. Any hidden items have collisions, so I won't have to click A all over the map, and soft locks can be fixed by talking to the game master. My short attention span immediately draws me to a Rock Smash Rock one tile to the right, which results in a battle with a level 14 Geodude, who out of bloodlust I kill for some free XP. Then I head into the Pokemon Center where Nurse Joy heals my Makuhita exactly as I would expect from any other Nurse Joy. Until... well, that's not good. I mean, if 3 decades of media consumption has taught me anything, it's that Nurse Joy is either going to become the meth king of New Mexico, or we're on our way to a planet of the apes. Or maybe she just has a common cold. The other NPCs in the Pokemon Center, at least for now, are useless. Other than the Game Master, of course, but screw that guy. I don't need any clues. Who do I look like? Steve from the Emmy-winning children's show Blue's Clues? I never wear collared shirts, my dog is a natural color, and my condiments don't speak or reproduce. Clues are beneath me. In the box, I discover my second teammate, a Yamask with a pretty saucy moveset and a held rare candy to boot. In my personal PC, I also pull out a potion and the TM for Dig, which according to my new best friend, will both be vital for a successful escape. Man, all this thinking's really making me hungry, but I just don't have the time to make a real meal, what with my busy schedule, which is why I'm thankful for the sponsor of this video, Factor, a prepared meal delivery service that brings fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep. With Factor, you can take the stress out of meal planning by choosing from over 35 meals per week across a range of dietary options. I like the diversity of different meals because it lets Dana and I pick our own individual favorites instead of having to eat the same thing. I also love that Factor's chef-prepared meals take just 2 minutes to make, and the food is genuinely delicious. You're telling me! Garchomp FJ, did you eat the last Factor meal? That was supposed to be my lunch. I stress eat, okay? Look, Zygarde's back in prison, and it's been tough on the FJ household, but Factor's creamy tomato pork chop has been a life raft in a sea of turmoil. Okay, well, Factor is now owned by HelloFresh, and what's great is that your subscription is flexible, so you can pause, change, or reschedule your order at any time, making it easy to switch between brands based on your weekly needs. So if you'd like to try Factor, be sure to head to factor75.com, or click the link below and use my code 50FLYGON to get 50% off and free shipping on your first box. That's code 50FLYGON at factor75.com to get 50% off and free shipping on your first box. Thanks so much to Factor for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the escape room. Back outside of the Poké Center, my very first challenge is a fight against May. She has 2 Pokemon and leads with a level 40 Meganium who seemingly only knows Solar Beam. And based on what May says at the start of the battle, I immediately suss out what I'm supposed to do. After dying a cruel death, I have Makuhita fight the Geodude in the Rock Smash Rock until he grows to level 16 and learns Whirlwind. This lets me challenge May again, and before Meganium has the chance to fire off a Solar Beam, I can now use my new move to send him out and bring in Clefable. My next brilliant idea is to switch to Yamask, but before she has a chance to do anything, Clefable nukes us with a Misty Explosion. With that though, I should have all the information I need to solve this puzzle, and I quickly figure out the general solution. Yamask has both Toxic Spikes and Protect, which we can use to slowly kill Meganium. The only problem is that we need to get Meganium to first switch out, and the only way to do that is with Whirlwind from Makuhita, which will require a switch. But by needing a turn to switch, there's no way for us to safely come in and use Whirlwind without first getting killed by Solar Beam. I can set up Trick Room with Yamask to reverse the speed order, but unfortunately Whirlwind has negative priority. So even if we do that, Meganium will still be able to slice through Makuhita like a perfectly cooked fish fillet before he gets off his attack. After a few minutes of hardcore pondering, I decide to inspect my bag. The only thing I have that appears remotely useful is the TM for dig, which has to be the answer to this puzzle, right? Fortunately, it only takes me about 15 seconds of staring at my party screen to figure it all out. My third attempt at the battle against May begins by leading with Yamask. As Meganium sets up Solar Beam, we throw down a layer of Toxic Spikes. Protect on turn 2 shields us from any damage, and then we repeat this for a second layer of spikes. On Meganium's third time absorbing light, Yamask sets up Trick Room. This means my Pokemon will now outspeed, so after protecting for a third time, I switch to Makuhita as Meganium attempts his fourth Solar Beam. But because of Trick Room, Makuhita can now use Dig to avoid Meganium's attack on the following turn. Now, I thought that we still had an issue here since I figured Meganium would just set up another Solar Beam as we surface, and then kill us on the following turn as Trick Room expires. But instead, May opts for a Protect to avoid damage from Dig. And with that tragic misplay, victory is ours. I can now Whirlwind Meganium on the next turn, which forces out Clefable. She dutifully blows up, and Makuhita takes the hit like a champ. And by like a champ, I mean he dies. But as I bring Yamask back in and Meganium gets badly poisoned by our Toxic Spikes, victory is nearly ours. All it takes is a few turns of using Hex when Meganium absorbs sunlight and protects when she fires off Solar Beams for the Poison Chip to do its job and win us the battle. With May defeated, there's a whole new part of the map to explore, featuring an apple tree that tells me to come back later, and a pair of twins that won't fight me since I only have one living Pokemon. So figuring that May might have some insight, I talk to her and discover that she's lost an item somewhere nearby. After a little bit of sleuthing, I discover a Master Ball behind the Poke Center. Real rough item to lose there, May, but despite the 7th of the 10 commandments, finders, keepers, losers, weepers, I decide to do the right thing and return the item to May. Fortunately, she lets me keep it, though at this point, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with it. The only potential Pokemon to catch would be the Geodude, but when I go to court him, I discover that he's all tuckered out. Poor guy. So I guess I need to focus on fighting the twins first, which means healing up my Makuhita. Unfortunately, the Pollicker has the flu and is refusing to heal my Pokemon until she feels better. I mean, you gotta respect prioritizing self-care over work, but how does this entire Poke Center only have one employee? There's no one to cover her shift? What are her working hours? And if she's sick, why is she still at work? Do the Nurse Joys have a union? Because if they don't, they most definitely should. Anyways, the mini answer to this mini problem is just using my one rare candy to level up Makuhita, thereby restoring just a bit of HP and bringing him back to life. I figure that it makes sense to use the potion here as well, so with that, we head into the fight against twins Anna and Meg. They just have a Zigzagoon and a Wooper, both at level 19, so there's nothing particularly challenging about this matchup. 2 turns later, the twins' Pokemon have been slain, or slayed, not sure what's grammatically correct, and as a reward, I get to trade my Makuhita for our foe's Wooper. The twins also reveal that Nurse Joy is suddenly feeling much better. Pretty short flu there, NJ. If you wanted a break, you could have just requested the time off. Our new Wooper knows Surf, which lets me explore the next section of the map. To the northwest is an overworld Curlia who looks hungry. In the water is a young boy who babbles about the trainers on the hill using grass and electric type moves. And to the southeast is a patch of grass accompanied by a sign that explains the 2 possible encounters available here. Girafarage, who is an excellent thief, and Scyther, who holds the secret to cutting bushes. Since I only have one ball, I can only catch one of these Pokemon, and I decide to catch Girafarage for 2 reasons. 1, giraffes have long necks, so hopefully he can get the apple from the apple tree. I actually don't know if that logic even makes sense in an escape room setting, but whatever. The second reason is more important anyways. I got 3 words for ya. Beep beep pony. The real ones remember beep beep pony. My Girafarage is holding the TM for Thief and also knows Thief, making her a double criminal. The rest of her moveset implies that we're about to get into some serious shenanigans, but first I do head back to the apple tree where my brilliant giraffe logic holds up and we pick ourselves a sweet apple. Then by giving it to the homeless teen, he joins the squad as teammate number 4. Curlia's holding an Everstone and I'm really unsure how or why we would ever need to use that, but I guess it'll come into play later. The only place left to go from here is the hill in the west, and to my surprise, the little girl at the foot of the hill doesn't battle me, but she does drop a saucy little bit of dialogue about how Pokemon can learn new moves when they evolve. My first thought is that this might be referring to Wooper, who can evolve into Quagsire at level 20. Wooper can't learn Thief, but Quagsire can, so that's probably going to be important in a second, but we'll know more by seeing what the trainers at the top of the hill have in store for us. Though first I do get one last resource in the form of an Eviolite. So we got a lot of moving pieces to consider as I start the fight against young couple Ellie and Joe. Before the battle, Ellie says something about a strange Pokemon that swallowed a special stone. Not sure exactly what that's referring to, but neither of their lead Pokemon seem particularly special. But they do, as the Yapper in the inner tube suggested, both appear to have grass and electric type moves. Now Beep Beep Pony has the ability Sap Sipper, so she's immune to grass moves, and Wooper with her ground typing is immune to electric type moves. So if I could somehow just combine the two of them into a Wooperafapoo, my beautiful creation would be immune to all of our foes' attacks. Or alternatively, I could use Skill Swap with Beep Beep Pony to give Wooper Sap Sipper. In order to do that though, I'll probably need to set up Trick Room with Yamask. And then there's the problem of being able to actually beat these level 40 grass types with a Wooper before we run out of PP. So first, I do decide to evolve Wooper into Quagsire by switch training in the grass patch. I also teach him Thief to potentially see if Ellie and Joe's lead Pokemon are holding any items. As I face off against the young couple for the second time, I again lead with Yamask and Beep Beep Pony. The former is now holding an Eviolite so that she can set up Trick Room, and the latter is baiting electric type moves to grant a free switch into Quagsire. But it's here where I learned that the AI seems to be pretty random. At least at first glance, there doesn't appear to be any way to ensure certain moves into certain Pokemons, which means that in order to get the outcome I want, I'm gonna need to do this a few times. That's a little frustrating, especially since at this point, I'm still just trying to gain information. But this is a great time to point out that creating escape rooms is extremely difficult, and Wiz has done a fantastic job with not just this escape room, but his two others as well. It's really cool to see his growth as a ROM hack creator. For example, in his most recent game, Maxie's Island, the AI is very deterministic so that the decisions it makes are consistent based on what decisions the player makes. It really helps cut out a bit of the frustration that can come from dealing with more random AI. But anyways, after a few attempts, I finally get a battle where Yamask is able to set up Trick Room, and Beep Beep Pony and Quagsire are both on the field at the same time. This lets Beep Beep go for Skill Swap, granting Quagsire Sap Sipper and complete immunity to our enemy's moves. From here, the plan is to just whittle away at both Pokemon. The only issue is that earlier in the battle, Sceptile hit Yamask with Grass Knot and Breloom hit her with Thunder Punch, so both of them now have the ability Mummy, and without remembering that, by hitting Sceptile with a Facade, Quagsire loses Sap Sipper and is therefore once again susceptible to Grass-type moves on the following turn. Well, after another whiteout, I go back to the drawing board to see if there's a better play, but I come up with absolutely nothing. This strategy largely seems sound, so I think the best bet is to just hope that neither Breloom or Sceptile hits Yamask with a contact move. It doesn't happen on the next attempt, but at the very least, only Breloom gets Mummy, and we're able to get Quagsire set up with Sap Sipper, so I'm safe to target down Sceptile and see what happens next. After a turn where Breloom uses Safeguard and Sceptile misses a Screech, our enemy switches Breloom out, and brings in a level 100 shiny Venusaur. So I have no idea how to beat that because he reveals Skull Bash as his one move. It is a 2-turn move like Solar Beam, which does let me steal the beast's held Dawnstone before Quagsire goes down, but as my timer crosses the 1 hour mark, I feel as lost as ever. Beating this fight seems impossible. If Venusaur only has Skull Bash, theoretically Yamask can wall him and do passive damage with Will-O-Wisp, which she learns at level 21, but in a double battle, I have no idea how to stop Venusaur from just targeting Quagsire, and I also have no idea how to prevent Sceptile or Breloom from targeting Yamask. The Dawnstone we just got can evolve Kirlia, but I really don't see how a level 20 Gallade will help me take down any of the young couple's 3 Pokemon. And then there's still that pesky Everstone. What purpose does that serve? I quickly decide that the only thing to do is head into the grass and see if the Wild Scyther are holding any items. Turns out they are, they're holding the HM for Cut. Though once again, I really don't see how that helps me beat a level 100 Venusaur. It does at the very least explain the need to evolve Kirlia since Gallade is the only one of our Pokemon that can learn Cut, which will be needed to slice the tree that lies behind Ellie and Joe, but again, I have no idea how I'm gonna get past them. After an hour trapped in this escape room, I was starting to lose steam. My brain was turning more into mush than it already was, and my confidence was beginning to shake. And then I started to pout. This happens literally every single time I do an escape room, and in hindsight, it's both funny and a little embarrassing. I just get so cranky when I can't figure out a harmless little puzzle. Like, relax, Past Flygon, it's a game. Your value as a person is not defined by how fast you do an escape room. The gifted child to average adult pipeline is tough. Fortunately, I don't have to stew for too long because another talk with the babbling boy makes it all click. Maybe you guys have already figured it out, but it's this extremely well-designed line of dialogue that holds the answer. You should be able to fight and pass them without a lot of grinding. Notice how it doesn't say beat them? It says I fight them, which I've already done many times, but then after that, it says I pass them. Since Ellie and Joe are a double battle, all I have to do is make sure I only have one Pokemon in my party, and I'll be able to freely walk right by them. Now, I will need Gallade to cut the tree and Quagsire to surf across the water, but as was foreshadowed earlier in the escape room, I can circumvent this problem by having Quagsire faint against a wild Scyther. So with that, we can officially walk right past Ellie and Joe, use Gallade to slice down the shrub in our path, and enter the house that signifies the end of the escape room. I love the solution to this final puzzle for two reasons. The first is that it doesn't require fighting your way through some ultra difficult battle. Though it possibly risks feeling a bit anticlimactic, it's a refreshing and pacifistic end to one of these challenges. The second reason is that it calls back an earlier part of the escape room where being unable to engage in a double battle was actually a problem to be solved instead of the solution to a problem that it is here. That inversion is really neat, and it makes it feel all the more silly when you finally figure it out because it was staring at you the entire time. But if you're like me, at the end of this challenge, I still had one unresolved question. What the f was up with that Everstone? Fortunately, Wiz was nice enough to provide an explanation and give me some closure. His idea of including the Everstone was that it would hint to players that you didn't need to attempt to evolve Kirlia into Gardevoir, though even he admits that it probably created more questions than it answered. Regardless, I had a lot of fun playing this game, and none of it would be possible without Wiz's hard work. All three of his escape rooms are awesome, and you can find links to them down below. If you want to see me race through his most recent escape room, check out Wacko's video on the event that he hosted, which is also linked in the description down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Or don't, I don't know, but I do know that you should check out my highlights channel to see my attempt at a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Run and Bun. Stay tuned for more videos, and until then, remember to always come up with an alternative outro that you can use for your non-Nuzlocke videos.